America and Brazil have long dominated the global soybean export market, together accounting for over 80% of shipments. But in recent years, Brazil has experienced a significant surge in soybean production and exports, eclipsing the United States as the world's leading supplier. In 2023, Brazil set a new record for soybean exports, reaching 3.7 million bushels, a 29% increase from the previous year. This growth was fueled by a record-breaking domestic harvest. Meanwhile, the United States soybean shipments declined by 14% to approximately 1.8 million bushels during the same period. China is the primary destination for soybean imports from both the America and Brazil. Over the past 5 years, Brazil's dependence on the Chinese market has grown substantially, with China accounting for approximately 60% of Brazil's total soybean exports. In contrast, the United States typically supplies around 25% of China's soybean imports. But how Brazil surpassed the America in soybean shipments? Elevate your business today. Join our exclusive community of business crabs and connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. Discover exclusive business stories and unlock your business's full potential. Visit the link in the description to join now. Historically, the America held the title of the world's largest soybean exporter. However, in 2013, Brazil surpassed the U.S. in soybean shipments, marking a significant shift in the global market. Over the past 2 decades, Brazilian soybean exports have experienced a remarkable fourfold increase, from 705 million bushels in 2004 to a record 3.7 million bushels in 2023. Soybeans have become Brazil's primary agricultural export commodity by volume, generating a record $53.2 billion in revenue in 2023. When considering the broader soybean complex, including soybean oil and soybean meal, Brazil's total export revenue from soybeans reached $67.3 billion in 2023, representing 40% of the country's total export earnings. In contrast, the United States soybean export revenue totaled $27.9 billion in 2023. To further solidify its position as a global soybean powerhouse, Brazil is actively seeking investments from Asian and Middle Eastern countries, including BRICS members, to expand its soybean production. This expansion involves converting degraded pasture land, which could potentially challenge the United States' agricultural dominance in the long term.
If you look at the soybean chart, it almost reads as how likely is a deal with China? And the less likely or the more escalated the trade war gets, the lower our futures sink.
China's insatiable appetite for soybeans, accounting for roughly 60% of global imports, significantly influences the dynamics of the soybean trade. The country's rising living standards and dietary shifts towards animal protein and edible oils have fueled this demand. Traditionally, the United States and Brazil have been the primary suppliers of soybeans to China. While the United States was once the dominant supplier, Brazil's exports have steadily increased over the past decade, particularly during the U.S.-China trade war. Brazil's competitive advantage lies in its ability to offer lower prices and consistent supplies, often filling the void created by disruptions in U.S. exports. However, weather-related challenges in Brazil can occasionally provide opportunities for the America to regain market share. The trade war significantly impacted U.S. soybean exports to China, causing a sharp decline in 2018. Although U.S. exports have partially recovered since then, they have not returned to pre-trade war levels. In response, the United States has sought to diversify its soybean markets, expanding exports to countries such as Egypt, Mexico, Japan, Indonesia, Taiwan, and Bangladesh, but these efforts have not fully offset the decline in Chinese demand. U.S. soybean imports fell to 977 million bushels in 2023, a 12% decrease from the previous year. China's long-term goal of achieving greater self-sufficiency in soybeans is expected to gradually reduce its reliance on foreign imports. As a result, the global soybean market may experience a shift in dynamics in the coming years, with potentially increased competition between the United States and Brazil for market share in other regions.
They have generational implications as far as the economic damage and the economic opportunity for rural America. So certainly it's something we worry about, and we hope to see a quick resolution to it, because agriculture is export dependent and we need these markets.
United States' reduced prominence in global soybean markets can be partly attributed to a surge in domestic soybean consumption. Soybean crush capacity within the country has steadily expanded since 2021, driven primarily by growing demand for soybean oil, particularly for renewable diesel production. According to the USDA's World Agricultural Supply and Demand estimates, projected domestic U.S. soybean crush use for the 2024-25 marketing year is estimated at 2.4 billion bushels. This expansion is further fueled by the Environmental Protection Agency's ongoing enforcement of biofuel blending targets for refiners and fuel importers.
One ag export is soybeans. We sell over $800 million a year in soybeans to China. The ag experts say that with a 25% tariff, that would be likely to be reduced by 2/3. We can make up some of that by expanding other overseas markets, but it's still going to have an impact on exports and price.
Government policies and investments in agricultural infrastructure played a pivotal role in promoting Brazil's soybean exports. In the post-World War II era, Brazil adopted an import substitution strategy to stimulate domestic economic growth. To achieve this, the agricultural sector faced heavy taxation and trade restrictions, aimed at supplying cheap agricultural products to the urban population. Despite these challenges, the government implemented measures to support the agricultural sector. A national price support policy provided minimum price guarantees for primary crops, including soybeans. Additionally, a national uniform energy price policy helped reduce costs for farmers, particularly those in the interior. The National System of Rural Credit, established in 1965, provided heavily subsidized loans to agricultural producers, accelerating the adoption of new technology and improving the economic position of small and medium-sized farmers. These policies created a favorable environment for soybean production and exports, contributing to Brazil's emergence as a global leader in the soybean market. Despite growing concerns about environmental sustainability, many major trading companies operating in the Cerrado have been criticized for a lack of transparency regarding their efforts to track indirect suppliers within their soybean supply chains. Companies like Cargill, ADM, Louis Dreyfus Company, Coefco, and Viterra have not disclosed detailed information on their tracking practices, while some companies such as Amagi and Bunge have made limited progress in tracking indirect suppliers. Their efforts remain insufficient. Tracking indirect suppliers is essential for these companies to achieve their stated goals of zero deforestation in their supply chains. LDC, Bunge, and Amagi have set targets for 2025, while Cargill, ADM, and Coefco aim for 2030. The limited level of tracking indicates a need for greater transparency and accountability in the soybean supply chain. Increased disclosure of tracking practices and progress towards zero deforestation goals is crucial to ensure that the expansion of soybean production does not come at the expense of the environment in Brazil. Elevate your business today. Join our exclusive community of business crabs and connect with like-minded entrepreneurs. Discover exclusive business stories and unlock your business's full potential. Visit the link in the description to join now.